Free Spirit. Lori, can you hear me okay? It's been a while, so I don't know if anything's working. And also, I need to go live on Instagram too. Hold on. I don't know how to do that. This is the first time I've done that, so let me see if I can do that real quick. Okay. Give me one sec. Let me know in the comments section here if you guys can hear me and see me. Okay, Rochelle. At least 10 of us here, but only 3 likes. Okay, who's slacking? Yeah, that's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. Who's slacking? Come on. I got 15 people on here now. Come on. Let's get the likes going. Jude, hello, my dear. Helen, hi. Yay. All my ladies are here. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see you guys. I forgot I could do this. Give you guys some airtime there. Yeah, we got to. Lori says she's in a crazy, hectic day. As always, Lori, recurring pattern, right? Wanting to order pizza because my brain won't shut off. Holding out as I was just reminded you're on in a few. I'm so glad I could give you some motivation. Becky, I'm so happy to see you. I'm assuming it's Becky and Seth from the family. Nice to see you. Thumbs up isn't working. Boo. Boo, boo, boo. Okay, hold on. For real, I have to figure out this Instagram thing. I think I'm supposed to be able to do it. Create live video. Public, and then, oh, here it is, stream key, copy. How do I do it? Let's see, Instagram, edit. Let me change the stream key. I don't even know what I'm doing. Oh, it's not working. Wait, if you're already live, if you need to change the stream key, remove this destination, and then, oh, okay, hold on. Guys, hold on. I'm learning a thing right now. Look, I'm learning. Okay, let's see if that worked. It has a thumbs up. Connect streaming. Is it working? I don't know. I don't know if Instagram can see me. It has a little plus mark thing. Kathy G, I know. Yes, Kathy, I remember you, of course. Hello, mom of 12. You got to say the mom of 12 thing, then I'll totally remember because I wouldn't forget that. I'm so glad to see you guys. You haven't joined a live in so long because I haven't been live in so long. It's been a long, long time. I'm watching on YouTube. Can't seem to find the live on Facebook. Okay. It's supposed to be streaming on the page. I wonder if it is not doing in the group maybe. Let's see if Facebook. Oh, it's not giving me the chance to put a group in. Maybe it doesn't do groups anymore. I don't know. Lots of things that are different. Oh, thanks, Rochelle. Yeah, let me know. Okay, so it worked on YouTube. That's good. Okay, my Instagram is now, it's changed. So it's nourishyourlifestyle_. Okay, that's the new Instagram for the new name. Yay for learning. I'm learning right in front of you guys. 0 thumbs up. Well, I see a heart. Okay, so I see 1 heart. If you can't do the thumbs up, do hearts. See if that works. Okay, yeah, mom of 12. That's impressive. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, we did it. Okay, I'll wait to hear from Michelle about the Instagram one. It has a plus sign on it. It says you are live. So sorry, Instagram, if you're like seeing me be weird and say weird things. I haven't used Streamyard in a long time, so I didn't know how it worked. Okay, so hello. I'm so glad to see you all. And I actually really, really, truly have missed going live with you. Last year, I was trying something with the business, which was trying to run ads to bring people in. It opened my eyes up to a lot of things in my journey, in everyone's journey, not just the nutritarian journey, but just the general American journey as well. And so I've changed a lot. The efforts that I was making, they didn't pan out yet. So I need to take a year or 2 to recoup and kind of re-strategize and things like that. And so that's why I'm coming back to my roots, because what I also noticed after coming back to doing the challenges and things like that now is that I really miss the activity that I used to do, which is live videos and challenges and workshops and live stuff with you guys. The other thing I missed was posting on YouTube. the way that my business was set up before, when I was just posting on YouTube and doing challenges and things, it was a very like free flowing business. I didn't have to have a lot of really scheduled calls. And so I forgot how nice it is to be able to work during the day instead of having so many calls. So it's been a really nice journey for me. It's been tough. I won't say, like, this last 2-3 years has been really hard trying to figure out ads and stuff. I think I have a really good handle on it now, but I don't have the success that I'm looking for yet. But we just keep going, right? And we never stop. So I'm going to keep working on that. But I'm going to take some time here to just come back to what I know, which is posting on YouTube every week. I'm going to try. I'm considering doing the podcast, like the new Nourish Your Lifestyle podcast now. But I would combine it with YouTube, so it's not extra work. So I might do a little bit of podcasting stuff too, because I know that audio is nice to have on walks and things like that. And we're going to be doing challenges at least quarterly. I'm starting out with a 7-day challenge. I don't know what y'all think about a 7-day challenge. Is what because I used to always do 21-day challenges, and then I did 5-day challenges for a while. Yeah, Chantal, coming back to my roots. It's going to be so much fun. Okay. So Instagram shows me as active now, but I don't see a live stream. Okay. I don't know. Thank you so much for checking, Rochelle. Facebook shows the live stream. Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, 7-day challenge sounds good. Because I was thinking maybe 21 days is too much. 7 days is a great way to just kind of get back in the rhythm, and it's easier to do 7 days than 21, obviously. And when I did okay, Jude likes that one, and Helen likes that too. Okay, good. When I did recently, I did a challenge myself not myself, me and my nanny friend Salma. We did a challenge together. We got through about 5 days of it, and that was really enough to just kind of jumpstart me remembering portion sizes and different things that I could do or whatever. So I thought 5-7 days would be really good. This one is going to be a paid one, except for the folks that are in the family. Of course, the family always gets the challenges for free. This one is going to be paid. So if you're in the general audience, I haven't nailed down the price yet, but it will be affordable. I'm also going to be going live a lot over the next 3-4 weeks to promote the challenge. Then I'm also going to open the family again. And I haven't opened the family in a long time. I mean, this whole time. And there have been people coming in from the ads and things, but not enough. And I want to have more activity in there and more community. It's such a wonderful place, as the folks who have been in there before know. It's such a wonderful and supportive place. It really is like a family now. And so I'll be opening that up again after the challenge. So we're just going back to what we used to do. It's going to be a 7-day challenge. And then as soon as the challenge is open, the family will be open. We'll have an open cart period where you can join the family at that point. And then we'll probably close it down again and then relaunch in a quarter. Okay. And do the original Academy members get the free challenge for free as well? If you're still in the family, then yes, that's just a benefit for the folks who are still in the family. So I'm not sure if you are still in there or not. So that will be for folks that are currently in the family. Missed the community, but wasn't active either. Yeah. So I'm wanting to get a lot more active. Other thing I wanted to How about that? Is that useful when I actually have my audio? Isn't that fun? So I'm talking for like 10 minutes and then I I don't realize. Can y'all hear me now? These comments take forever to come in. Sorry. Okay, good. Okay, so I was mentioning, so we're doing the challenges. I also have opened up a texting group on WhatsApp. I don't know if y'all use WhatsApp, but it's just a it's just a texting app that's really nice because it has different types of controls and you can fast forward through audio messages and things like that. So I opened up a texting group just for accountability to have connection. I am getting reacquainted with connecting in my various platforms since I didn't do social media for a year. I'm getting reacquainted with that, namely inside the family, so that I'm more active in there again. But I also wanted to have an option where it was a littler barrier to entry and the ability to just text. So I could just do quick messages back and forth if anyone has any questions or anything like that. It's meant to be like a daily accountability kind of a thing, just keeping your ears to the ground and keeping active in there. And so I just launched that last week, but it was a really soft launch. I only did like one email about it or something. That's $5 a month for folks who are in the family and $19 a month for folks who are not in the family. It's a really great way to get started with me if you want to like learn a little bit more, get some accountability, something like that. And I think that with the challenge, when you join the challenge, you can get the texting group as well at the same time if you want, is how we're going to do it, I think. There's only a couple people in there now. Helen is in there. And it's going okay so far, but there's only a couple people, so not too much to chat about yet, but we'll get more in there as we go. So those are the things that are happening right now. Getting back into YouTube and social media, and regular posting and just getting back to my roots. So I wanted to give you guys that update. I'm so glad y'all are here. Now, today, what are we talking about today? So the topic of today is how to get your groove back. I know we go through periods where everything's going fine. Maybe we do a challenge or something, right? And then we go off track for whatever reason. So I find in my journey that something Lydia and I refer to as a hinge point. So it's an idea where everything's going along fine, you're doing fine, and then all of a sudden something happens and you start going downhill. Hinge points can be big or small, right? They can be the death of a loved one, a diagnosis, a stressful time at work. They could be a celebration, a baby is born, a client party, whatever, holiday season. Or they could just be little things like repeated craving that you always have. That doesn't really have anything to do with anything. You just have this craving all the time. So these hinge points can be big or little. And one thing that's for sure about hinge points is that they never go away. We'll always have them as humans, right? So these hinge points, what's actually happening here is we're responding to them emotionally. So if we have a craving, we're like, "Ooh, I want to eat that thing," right? We have a strong desire to eat something. We're at a hinge point. We're at a fork in the road here. Which way do we take? Now, related to today's topic, how to get your groove back or how to get back into the groove. People think like we condition ourselves to believe that once you start going downhill, you're just going to keep going downhill. Or like once the holiday season rolls around, man, all bets are off, right? I'm not going to be eating well for 3 months or something. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, just wait till we get to New Year's, right? Wait till January 2nd. So we think that it's kind of like magnetic, like there's like, once we start going downhill, we're just going to keep going downhill. We think that these meals are connected to each other somehow. And we think that there's science that actually backs that up because we say, oh, either I'm a food addict or, there's something wrong with me, or once my brain has some sugar, then it just wants sugar all the time and I'm way more cravey and things like that. We start to believe these stories about ourselves because we look at the past and we go, oh, this must be true because see, look at my past. This must be a fact. When actually what happened there was not that you were an addict and you reawakened a beast that can't be put back or something, and you're on a path to not being able to stop. What actually happened there was you just responded emotionally somehow to a hinge point, and you decided to have a food. Your brain is really smart because it's like, ooh, once we have one, we like that. It's a fast source of calories, so I'm going to have you crave it again, right? The only thing that's happening there is the brain is just going, hey, fast source of calories, let's do it again. There's not actually like a magnet that's pulling you down into another binge or another meal or something like that. What's actually happening there is your brain is just remembering a thing and reminding you about it, right? So say you're walking along and you stub your toe. The brain's going to remember that, and it's going to remind you that when you go past that thing again, careful, because you might stub your toe again. You don't want to do that again. You don't want to walk the same way you did. It's actually a really great thing that the brain does this, that it reminds us of this. The reason it reminds us of high calorie foods is because it wants to survive. It doesn't want to die, right? Hey, Cheri, I'm so glad to see you. And Carol, I'm so glad to see you too. Thank you. So the brain doesn't want us to die. So when it sees a high calorie food that we've enjoyed in the past, it's just reminding us. Okay, all that's happening there is reminding us. If we start to believe that what's happening is there's something wrong with us and we're an addict, and see, we can't even have one little bit of something or it's going to send us off into a spiral. If we start believing those things, which by the way are what all the diet people tell you, especially OA, Overeaters Anonymous, Bright Line Eating, these kinds of, addict-based programs, even Dr. Furman to an extent, saying that we're addicts is actually what causes us to feel disempowered, and then we eat way more. Stay with me, which makes it look like we're an addict, when in fact we ate more because we were disempowered, because someone told us there's something wrong with us, and we believed it. Did you catch that? If you didn't, watch it again, okay? I'll try to say it again real quick. When society or diet programs or whatever tell you that there's something wrong with you, obesity is a disease, addiction is a disease, you can't get rid of it, once an addict, always an addict, whatever. When someone tells you that, you start to believe it and internalize it. The feeling that comes from that internalization is disempowerment. It's in the first step of the 12-step program. I am powerless against my addiction, as if it's a disease or something you can't control. When you feel disempowered and you feel poorly about yourself, you overeat. The overeating looked like it was because you're an addict, when really you overate because you felt disempowered about yourself, because someone told you something wrong. So imagine a kid in kindergarten or something, and another kid goes, "You're too short." And then this kid starts to internalize the idea of being short as bad. And the rest of their life they go through, oh, well, they don't go to these events because they're too short, and they don't like to wear these kinds of clothes because they're too short, and no one will ever love me because I'm too short, or whatever. They start to internalize that idea. They think it's true, that there's something wrong with them, because what they're doing is only things that correspond with short being bad instead of short being good. And like, short can be awesome, and hey, I can fit into small spaces and whatever, right? You're avoiding life, and you're not being happy as you could be because you have this internal belief in you. So if we were to take that kindergartner and teach them about, there's all different types of heights, and they're good for different things, and your height is perfect and it's how you're supposed to be and whatever, then that kid is going to feel more empowered, and they're going to start doing more things, right? Same thing with, you're an addict, or you'll never get over this, or there's something wrong with you, or these things are connected. Once I start eating something, I'm going to just keep going downhill. It is the thinking that they're actually magnetic. It's the thinking that it's actually a downhill slope, or that there is a groove, that's actually what has us overeating. Okay? So the idea here, there is no actual groove. Right? Long story short, there's no groove, there's no track, there's no wagon, None of that stuff. None of that stuff exists. You're not on a record player, and there's all these grooves and oh, everything's going perfect. Oh, whoops, I'm off track forever. I'll never be able to get back on track. That's not true. We know it's not true because there's always a point where we get so fed up. Tell me if I'm right here. Tell me if you relate to this. There's always a point, no matter how poorly we've eaten for how long, there's always a point where we're so fed up that we're just like, that's it. I'm going to eat this other thing. I'm going to eat a salad, or I'm going to have a smoothie or something like that. Let me know in the comment section if you can relate to that, where there's never not a time where you end up just like, oh, that's it. I'm getting back on track. I'll share with you guys what I'm having for breakfast. This is going to go on YouTube pretty soon, but it's soup. My general, the Emperor's New Groove, right? That's right. I don't think I've ever seen that one actually. So, but there's always a point. Yep, Cheri says there's always a point where you get so sick of it. This is good and bad, because it means that you're always gonna, you never have to worry that you'll go downhill forever. There's always going to be a point where you shift. And what's interesting is that, well, wait, let me finish my sentence. So I made a soup the other day. My general recipe for soup is Instant Pot or a pot on the stove, bunch of broth, bunch of vegetables, and a bean and a grain. So this week, it's what I had in the fridge. Some not so good looking carrots, onions, celery. I had some potatoes, some yellow Yukon Gold potatoes. And then I just did broth, and I did teff as a grain. Teff is really, really tiny, tiny grain that originates from Africa. They use it in the Ethiopian food, which is one of my favorite foods in the whole entire world. It's a very, very small. You can't really taste it. I wanted to test using it in a soup. I'd never used it in a soup before, and it's fine. Can't really taste it or whatever. And then I did to season it, I did lemon juice and nutritional yeast. Delicious. And the I didn't put a ton of potatoes, but it was enough to thicken it, which is so it's nice like a stew. And then I have I don't know if I ever showed you guys here. I'm gonna have to turn this down a little bit. So I have a warmer here. It's a cup warmer that I use when I'm having tea or whatever. And I just put that on there to keep the soup warm so I can eat it throughout the day. Okay. So there's always a point where we get so sick of our stuff and we're like, ugh, I want to get back on track, right? I want to get back on track. So then we choose to make some type of a healthy meal. But here's the thing. The only thing that changed there was we actually just took a moment to think about how we feel. And we didn't feel very well. We acknowledged it and we said, okay, I'm going to make a different choice. What's so interesting about this is that you don't actually have to have a period of time where you end up feeling a certain way to make that choice. You can make that choice at any minute. Let's say you've been off track for the last 3 weeks. And you're feeling, whatever. You're just like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get on track? I just want this, whatever. At any moment during the day, you can go, okay, my next meal, that's enough. I had enough chocolate or whatever it is. My next meal, I'm going to have a smoothie. At any moment, right? It doesn't have to be that you've had this much stuff and it feels this horrible and you have to get to this one place where you're so off track that you get back on track. It doesn't have to be that way. It can just be a choice in any moment. That's the part that I think most people don't believe anymore. They think that it's actually magnetic, that once you start going off track, you're just going to keep there's another groove that you're suddenly stuck in. And that there are these grooves, one of them is the good one and one of them is the bad one. What if life was more gray than that? Right? What if life was sometimes busy and sometimes not? Sometimes well rested and sometimes tired. sometimes happy, sometimes sad. What if that's what life was? And it's always a combination of those things. What if, I mean, can you be two things at once? Um, you know, feeling at peace and satisfied because a loved one passed away and also missing them terribly, right? Can you be in love with someone but also mad at them for something? We're a mix of all these feelings and all these different things all the time. So what if our eating is not related at all to anything we just did? What if it's just our brain going, "Ooh, that was a really good food. Let's have more." And then we go, "No, brain, it's okay. We don't need any more. We're going to have a salad again because it feels better." What if it was as easy as that, is to just shift your thoughts in that moment? The issue is, it's just we don't have practice with it and we're not very good with it yet. So one thought that I like to go to, okay, so Lori says, I can just see a great photo of a green food. My body will tell me I have to have that, right? I mean, if you just see a photo of a salad that looks so wonderful and you're hungry, man, it's easy to have that salad, right? That's another reason why it's important for us to always to start to get used to that hunger scale and get used to not being too hungry all the time, and always making sure that we are staying in that zone of just a little bit hungry, right? Or hungry enough that we're not sort of having toxic hunger type symptoms. And I don't mean like eating all, like grazing all day. I just mean having some actual hunger, but not too strong of hunger so that we don't crave so much. So that's something to get in touch with. But this idea of no two meals being sort of stuck together, it really has to do with our thoughts. We might have that thought of, oh, because I had this thing, now I'm craving it more, right? We might think that that's true. And it probably is. The brain is serving us more cravings for that thing now that we've had it. So then we start to actually believe that what's going on is we can't have that thing at all, or we'll end up overeating it. That's what we start to, the story that we make up about that sequence of events. Or we could think that actually, I ate this food and now I want more of it. Okay, that makes sense. That's cool. Of course I want more of it because it's a delicious food. But I prefer this other thing because of this, this, and this. When we're fully in belief about that food, and why would we eat that food? Like, why would I have this soup over a bowl of cereal or something? When I got to the point of, because I had so many years of binging, and after the pregnancy with the twins, I started to toy with the idea of just letting myself have anything, could just eat anything I want. And I did this work with the coach back in 2021, right during the beginning of the cancer stuff. I started toying with having whatever I wanted. And how do I get back to salads? The way that I got back to salads was by actually thinking about how I felt when I ate those things. And this took months and months and months of wanting to eat salads, but not wanting to eat salads, and overeating on junk, and kind of being really conscious about how it made me feel. And now I'm at a point where when I see things that are less nutritious for me, I go, oh, I take just a quick second to think about how it's going to feel when I eat it. And afterwards, how bloated I'll be, how much energy I'll have, whatever. And I've done that work so much to look at how that feels, to know what I actually prefer. And at that point, it becomes easy to choose healthier foods because you're so sold on the actual in the moment feeling and how it's going to feel over the next little bit of time, right? And so therefore our actions are coming from true self-care, desire for self-care, rather than some imaginary groove that we're in or not in, right? This is true. When you know your health is on the line for real, that makes it a lot easier to avoid junk. That's true, probably, right? I mean, in my cancer journey, I knew that it wasn't a terminal thing, so maybe it would have been different had it been terminal. For me, I don't know, but I think that's probably true a bit. But I still wasn't able to really get it together, even when I had cancer. So it had to come from somewhere other than just, I'll have poor health if I don't do this. That didn't work for me. The poor health thing, just didn't really care when have the Doritos in front of me or whatever, or the chicken or something. That didn't work for me. So what I had to find was more self-care. And what was interesting was that I didn't have any concept of self-care when I started this work. And I remember asking my coach one time, how do you actually care about how you feel after you eat something? And I just remember it was asking that question that gave me the answer over time. Because I was like, how do people care? What would it be like if I actually cared about how I felt after this meal or whatever? And over time, I answered it because I started just looking at what does it feel like to overeat and to be done overeating, and then how do I feel after that or whatever. And it was just that awareness of that started to build a belief of I prefer to not be stuffed. I prefer to not be throwing up once a month, at 3 a.m. because I overate on all the junk, What must that feel like? And I wasn't, but I thought to myself, I want to be the kind of person who cares about how I feel. How could I be the kind of person who cares about how I feel after a binge? And the answer didn't come right away, but it did come over the months of what must that be like to actually care how I feel. And what's so interesting, you guys, this is maybe the last point that I'll make. Oh no, I have one more point. What's so interesting is that we talk about in my program all the time, we talk about feelings being the driver of our actions. So if we want to eat well, we have to feel calm and confident and secure, and we have to feel that kind of stuff. If we want to do that regularly, like I mentioned before, let's say we're coming from disempowerment. Usually we're going to eat poorly in a place like that, okay? But our feelings are actually coming from our thoughts and our beliefs for the most part. And so if we know that the way to eat healthy on a regular basis, to create habits, actually has to be to believe differently about the food that we're eating. People always say, oh, just think food is fuel or whatever. But we can't get to that from where we are. That's not a thought that we can just think all of a sudden. But the one thing that we can always come back to in any moment is self-care. This one always feels good. Well, caveat, unless you're a people pleaser and we're working on people pleasing, that's a challenge. But once you've done the self-care act, where no one ever is mad that they did that thing, right? It might be hard to do the thing, but we're always happy to actually have taken care of ourselves. And this feeling of self-care, self-love, doing what's good for us, doing what's best in the moment, that is something that we can always come back to, and acceptance, all that kind of thing. Whereas most people are trying to diet out of guilt, shame, anger, self-hatred. And what's interesting is those things can actually work. Fear, whatever. Those things can work. Accountability, right? They can work, but they're never long-term. I mean, it might be long-term as in a year or two or something, it might work. But we're not 40, 50 years. We can't always be in guilt and shame, because there's always going to be a point where your brain is like, enough. And then you just go and eat all the food and then you don't care, right? And similarly, accountability and having other people, using apps and tracking points and tracking all your foods and things like that. That's something we can do for a while, and it can work for a while, but it doesn't actually work if it doesn't work for 40 years, right? But one thing we can do for 40 years is learn to love and care for ourselves and accept ourselves. We might not be there yet, but that is one thing that once we've learned that skill, it always feels good, and we can always come back to it. And self-care and self-love automatically will have us eating more salads. Okay. The self-care and self-love one comes back in after we've been binging for a few weeks and we're like, enough, I'm done. The thought is, I don't want anymore. I'm done. I want something healthy for myself. I want to care for myself. Then we make that salad, right? Are you differentiating between physical feelings or mental and emotional feelings? Right now I'm talking about, so we say more physical sensations. That would be a feeling like you're talking about. When I say mental and emotional feelings, I mean this feelings is the mental and emotional stuff, okay? Physical sensations would be hunger, coldness, that kind of a thing. So we can come back to this idea of self-care. And once we've practiced it enough and we get good at our reasoning behind self-care, lowering the people-pleasing, putting ourselves first, once we get used to what that feels like and we like self-care, and it doesn't matter what comes up in our life after that in the circumstance line, hurricane could be barreling down. We could have terminal cancer. We could have to, fly from here to here to do this to whatever. We can always bring ourselves back to self-care no matter what's happening. So let's say, a loved one is sick and we've got to fly a couple times in a week or something, and it's all unexpected and spontaneous and it's stressful and whatever. You can't change that circumstance. That's how it's going to be. But you can change your thoughts and beliefs in each moment of those days. So, for example, you're in an airport, you didn't have time to prep. You're crazy because your loved one is, sick and you've got to travel and you don't know if you're going to make it in time or whatever. And you're in the airport hungry, right? The self-care model looks like, I need to take care of myself right now. I'm having a really tough time. Taking care of myself is definitely not chocolate cake because that will feel worse later. Taking care of myself is a salad right now. And then I'll have better energy to do what I need to do. You can bring yourself to that place, even from a place of extreme stress. And that's what I teach, how to do that in each moment. You can bring yourself there. And but the other option is, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. And notice what I'm saying here is actually thoughts and beliefs. Oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. I don't know what to do. I'm so hungry. I just need something fast. So you go to Starbucks and you get what you usually get, which is the, bready kind of thing with the sugary drink or whatever. Or maybe you get a piece of pizza or a burger or something like that. Well, I'm in the airport. There's nothing else I can eat. There's always something in the airport, by the way. There's always a salad somewhere. There's always a banana or an apple or something like that you can get. Always. You just have to look. And the problem is we let that stress take over, right? Also, we can be hungry. We could just be hungry and, get some seltzer water or something and, take that hunger away somehow, just drink a bunch of water, whatever. Like, we can be hungry too. That's okay. But when the choice comes from a thought of, oh, who cares? Whatever. I'm just going to do this. I want this right now. That feeling, we're going to be acting from urge. Whereas the self-care one, you can always bring yourself back to that one. Okay, how could I take care of myself in this moment? How could I make this even better? I know that this is a stressful situation, but how could I make it better? If at least I can take care of myself, that's the thing I can choose. And so that's the last point I want to make, is the idea of choosing self-care is something that we can always make that choice in the moment. Even if we're starting off from a place of dysregulation or something, we can always bring ourselves back to calm self-care. What do I truly need in this moment? What is going to be the best for me to tackle this moment? This is a tough moment. That's okay. What do I need in order to actually make this better? I can have a salad, or I could have a smoothie, or I should have a banana now instead of, having that piece of bread or whatever it is. Self-care. I'm going to care for myself. We can bring ourselves back there. Okay. So the idea of there being a magnetic force that's causing us to eat more food or whatever, it's not true. It's not a thing. It's literally just thoughts in our head. And we have the best news is that we have control over the thoughts in our head. And that's what I help people understand how to do. That in every moment, no matter how strong the craving is or how crazy life is or how busy you are, you still have that choice to be able to choose the thing in the moment. Sometimes it feels like we don't have a choice. That's where practice comes in, and practice with this sort of techniques that I teach come in, okay? One choice that you can make, and I'll leave you with this one, is that one choice is perhaps the thought of, yeah, everything's crazy right now, but why don't I just have one meal, like just my next meal, just one meal I'll have that's really healthy, just because I know it's going to make me feel better. I can go back to the junk afterwards, but why don't I just eat a salad first and then see how I feel? And I can totally have the pizza after, right? Or whatever that is, but maybe just a little bit here. These things are not connected. I can choose a salad now. So that's something to think about. Another thing I like to do is just say, maybe I try a new recipe once a week. So if I'm ever getting like sick of, whatever I'm eating, I'm always bringing in a new recipe every week or every couple of weeks to keep things fresh. And it's, I can always go look for another recipe and just try something new. I don't want the salad, or I don't want this or whatever. I just want the junk. Oh, well, why don't I just go try a new recipe, right? So there's a couple things you can think there to take with you. Yeah, and my body feels so miserable that I'm motivated to avoid that discomfort. Yep, that's a pretty easy one there. Not that it's easy to be in your position, Rochelle, but you know what I mean. And then Wendy says, "Are you in my head, Cheri? Just this weekend said once again, I can't stand this feeling. I'm going to change. Now on the good track, but how do I stay here?" Yeah, how do you stay here? It's everything I just said. When we say, "How do I stay here?" there's no here. It doesn't exist. All you're doing is making a choice and then another choice and then another choice. That's all that's happening. So staying here is just about choosing a meal. So every time we go to choose a meal, that's the moment where we quote unquote either stay off track or not. So as we get to that next meal, there's a lot of things that we can do to make it easier to make a better choice. Number one, not getting too hungry. Number two, getting as much greens and nutrients in as we can on a normal basis, regular basis. Number three, keeping the junk food to a minimum if possible. But how do we actually do that? That's by working on what do we do in the moment. So Wendy, if we're fueled to eat healthy because we ate unhealthy for a while, that's not a sustainable emotion, right? That's just I'm so sick of this. We're not going to be able to sustain that emotion forever. But if we can in turn start to actually look at the food for how it makes us feel and what is self-care, and we start to get really, really good at the self-care thing. That's what I was mentioning. That will help us to actually start to see differently about this food. Now, oftentimes, and I know like Helen was mentioning, Helen, so you're saying I don't have to wait for a hinge point to happen to me. I can choose to pivot at any moment. Yeah, exactly. We're conditioned to eat poorly at hinge points because that's just what we've done forever. But the steps that we use in my program, number one, planning ahead. You can only plan ahead so much, but you can plan ahead enough to where you can do 75, 80% and get it right? And then sometimes what we plan, we don't stick to. That means our plan isn't realistic. And that's a really important point that most people don't understand. When I say planning, I don't mean plan a perfect nutritarian day and then stick to it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying plan in a way that's realistic for you today. Like, what have you been eating in the last couple of weeks? Plan that. Even if it's been total junk, plan it. What I'm talking about is removing the wrong or bad from those foods. And I know in the nutritarian world, it's really hard to do that because we're told that we have to be 100% nutritarian to be healthy. I don't believe that. I believe that we can have amazing health from just lowering our stress levels, which has a lot to do with not being perfect with our food too. Okay. There's so many more factors besides just nutrients in food that create our health equation. Now, of course, food is one of the biggest factors. Absolutely. But if we're so stressed out that we're binging all the time, might as well plan a binge and plan to have the binge and get okay with binging. I know this sounds weird. Stick with me. Get okay with binging. Release the shame about having however many chocolate bars we eat. Plan to have the chocolate bars on purpose and start to actually listen to what your body says about having that many chocolate bars, right? So oftentimes an exercise I'll do with my clients is, I call it a prescription. It's okay. Someone will come to me and say, oh, well, I had this binge and I ate this many, Lara bars or something like that. And I'll say, well, how many? And she'll say, oh, you don't want to know. And I'm like, come on, just tell me how many. She's like, well, it's 7 or something like that. I'm okay. So what I want you to do is for the next 4 days, I want you to plan to have 7 Lara bars each day. So you need to go to the store tonight and you need to buy 28 Lara bars and try to recreate the same kind of condition, time of day, whatever, and then plan to eat 7 Lara bars 4 days in a row. And I'll say, this is your assignment. This is the only thing you're doing this week. And she'll say, oh my gosh, if I did that, I would weigh 1,000,000 pounds and I would just keep going and it'd be horrible. I'm like, okay, we'll see. You let me know. That's your assignment. Guys, if you plan to eat what you binged over and over and over again, you will automatically not want to have that much anymore next time. So you do it for 1, 2, 3 days in a row. It's going to seem exciting and fun. Then there's going to be a day where you're going to be like, oh my God, 7? I don't really want 7. What this proves is that you're not a food addict, number one. Because if you were a food addict, you would continue to eat the same amount every single day and you wouldn't be able to stop. But the only thing that's changing here is we're actually planning to do it. So what's changing is that we're using that prefrontal cortex, the rational side of our brain, instead of that kid side of our brain, right? When we're operating from rationality, we make better choices. And so when we say we're planning to have those Lara bars, we plan and we go, wait, how many Lara bars do I actually want right now? You know what? I could do with just 2. I don't want 7. That's crazy. I'm just going to have 2. This moment here, these 4 days that I assigned this person to eat 7 Lara bars in 4 days, or 28 Lara bars in 4 days, this time period here is the learning period where we, number one, realize we're not a food addict, because if we were, we would just keep shooting up, right? And number 2, we actually have control, and it actually matters to us how we feel, right? So in that moment where you go to, today's day 3 or something, you go to eat those 7 Lara bars again, and you're like kind of dreading it a little bit, that's the learning point. The learning point of, I actually have some control here. And I'm actually not the food addict I thought I was. And I can actually have Lara bars whenever I want. And you know what? 2's the right number for me. You're starting to see, like, what is that right number? And you're like, okay, well, if I'm hungrier, then 3's the right number, right? Or if I'm not so hungry, then I can just do with 1 after a meal or whatever, right? And you're starting to see that there's actually a correlation between the messages you get in your brain and your heart and your stomach and what you've eaten. And you start to connect with yourself a little bit more and go, oh, you know what? I've had enough now. This is what toddlers do. All toddlers do this. They might not remember that they did it when they first were born, and it depends on when their parents start feeding them food and junk and things like that. But all babies and toddlers can regulate the amount of food that they eat based on what their body tells them. And that's all we're learning here again, is that I don't care what kind of metabolic damage you have or whatever, anyone can get back to this. You just have to keep working at it and keep practicing. And that's one of the exercises that I recommend, is let yourself have the food. And plan to have the amount that you would normally binge on for like 4 days in a row. By day 2 or 3, you're going to be like, I don't want this food anymore. And you start to realize, oh my gosh, maybe there is hope for me. Maybe it wasn't that the food is so addictive, because it's actually not. I mean, chocolate's good and stuff, but like, I don't want to eat chocolate all the time because it doesn't feel good when I do that. In these moments where we're allowing ourselves to actually have the food, that's rewiring our brain right there from decades of diet mentality and things like that. When we're starting to say we can actually have it and being okay with that, erasing those messages that people have given us of here's what you have to do it just this way or whatever. When we start to get better at that, it all starts to make that self-love ball just expand and expand and expand. And then all your food choices come from self-love. And that self-love and self-care. And that looks like mostly nutritarian and some junk for sure. Right. But not a ton of junk, because why would you? You can have it whenever you want it. So it's reversing that thinking, which is a tough nut to crack. I know. But that's where we're going to be. Do you believe that it's possible to actually be a food addict? I don't think so. In my opinion, no, I don't think so. I've worked with so many people now who thought they were addicts, and they know they're not now. People who think I'm an extreme binge eater, that kind of a thing. It really just comes down to practice, because the reason that we think we're an addict is because, first of all, we've been told that, but second, we've practiced the actions of an addict so many times that we think it's true. The only reason we've practiced it so many times is because we were feeling disempowered. We felt horrible about ourselves. We thought there was something wrong with us, so we overate. If we could find a way to become empowered, then and working from self-care and self-love 100% of the time, that's when we automatically make better food choices. You mentioned, Helen, the other day about chocolate actually being more exciting than regular food. And that can be true to an extent. And I used to believe the same thing, that why would you have, oatmeal in the morning when you could have brownies because they're right on the counter, right? And I used to do that a lot. But now my thought pattern has shifted to, why would I have brownies when I can have something healthy that's going to actually make me feel good? Brownies might be like, and when I look at brownies now sitting on the counter, that's not a food that I would feel is energy giving for the morning. It's not how I would want to start my morning out, because I've done a lot of work on the self-care thing and what feels like self-care to me, actually. What is real self-care? And when we prioritize ourselves either below God or at, number one in our human life or whatever, when we prioritize ourselves first, we start to realize that self-care feels better than the other. And we start to realize that people who told us we couldn't do it before, was actually the problem, was actually the thing causing the problem. I know it's a weird mind shift to have to make, but this is the beginning of thinking about that, questioning, maybe I'm not a food addict. And I know, Helen, you actually do believe you are, and that's okay. That's how we do this work, is by shifting those thoughts. So it's not possible to just go to, I'm not a food addict. That's why we do these little prescriptions of, allowing ourselves to have the food, rewiring how we think about that food, and that sort of a thing. As we do this work over time, we get more and more towards, maybe in this situation, I wasn't very addicted, right? Because there are always situations where you've been able to not have something, or you were just too busy and you didn't care, whatever, which proves that we're not actually an addict in the way that people say we are. We might have a higher proclivity compared to that person to be more interested in food and things like that, but that doesn't mean we're an addict in a way that means we have no control. Everybody has control. It's just we've never practiced it and we've never learned how to do this, okay? If you can practice the attitudes and actions of an addict, then it must be possible to practice the attitudes and actions of a free person. That's exactly it. And you have, Helen, I know you have in the past. All of us have experience with that, where there's not a client I've ever worked with, hundreds of clients, that has ever said, no, in every situation, I've always overeaten. It's not possible. That's why I asked the question, has there ever been a time where you were so sick of your overeating that you went to healthy eating? Of course, because it's just all a cycle. It's always going to be like that. But we're always worried that it's going to be as strong as it is, so negative and so hard and then so strict and whatever. And we think that the only way to lose weight is to be strict and whatever. It's not. It's a gray area where peace and calm and self-care and self-love is gray. that's a gray area. It looks like having chocolate sometimes. It looks like for those of us, myself included, that want to be more flexitarian now, a little bit of meat, maybe a little bit of dairy or whatever, mainly plant-based. It looks like having 85% nutritarian, 80% nutritarian, and that 5 or 10% that I'm not nutritarian, that, say for instance, Dr. Furman says you need to be, I'm saving in stress because now I'm not stressed out and I can go to events and I can have, some food here and there, and I don't have to keep things out of my house because I can't handle them and whatever. Releasing that stress is everything. And if we practice those thoughts and beliefs, and not even not practicing I'm not an addict, but practicing I wonder if I wonder if it's possible that I am not an addict. I wonder how I could be not an addict. And if you start looking at that, it's not like just doing an affirmation saying I'm not an addict. It's like, oh, you know what? When I went to that wedding that one time and I, just really wanted to have the salad looked really good and I had that or whatever, and then I just had a small slice of cake or whatever. Yeah, I guess I wasn't really an addict in that situation. We start to actually look for evidence that we're not an addict. Because if you were an addict, you'd be having this food every single meal, every single day. And that's just not how it works. People don't do that. There's always a point where you end up, I don't want this. So instead of it being this up and down, huge, wild curve of perfectly nutritarian, eating all the junk in the world, and that's what we're going between, we just want to even it out and have it to be pretty great, and then some junk here and there, right? And we want to release the guilt and shame about that and release the stress, okay? Yeah, so Lori says, I do best when I have plenty of sparkling mineral water and snacks that I can throw together as a salad or a meal, or eat a few bites to satiate my hunger. Of course, I have to practice more. Absolutely. Rochelle says, in my opinion, people who feel like food addicts are people who are looking for comfort or pleasure. That's right. Yeah. Now I'm looking for comfort or pleasure in other things or in healthier versions of treats. That's right. So when you feel like you're a food addict, I think all of us look for comfort and pleasure. I think that that's just a normal human condition, right? So that's not different from an addict or a non-addict, right? I don't even believe in those things in that way, but we all are looking for comfort and pleasure. And as you're mentioning, looking for comfort and pleasure in other things, I think it's still okay to look for comfort and pleasure in food sometimes. But my number one rule is, and it's not even a rule, it's like a loving idea. The number one idea is just don't overeat, right? Don't eat more than you need at that moment. Our body is going to tell us what that is, and that's what I teach in my program. But just don't overeat, right? Why would we overeat? If we can have all the foods, why would we overeat? And that's automatically going to help us maintain our weight. And then we will automatically lose a little bit of weight if sometimes we just go to bed because we were too busy and we didn't have time to eat or whatever, right? So if we just cut out the overeating, that's when we really will have that big change. So I always say the first thing to look at here is just working on not overeating. Why would we overeat? If we can have that food again in 4 hours, why have too much right now? Okay, that's a lot. I did not mean to go into all that, but of course you guys know how I am. Okay, so that's it for now. I just wanted to kind of come back on and say hi to you guys, give you the lowdown on what's going on. I'm going to be, let's see, timing wise here. Let me look at the calendar for it. So this week, is just the kind of week we're talking about it. Next week is going to be the week where I deliver it. Probably will deliver it by Wednesday at the latest because I still have to make it. It's planned out, but I just have to make the challenge. So I'll deliver it to you guys with enough time to be able to get the groceries and things like that. And then it's going to start on the 20th. It'll be a 7-day challenge. Do as much as you can. It doesn't matter. I might as well just join anyway, just to get the recipes and stuff. It'll be totally worth it. Hopefully we'll have some real good action inside the High Nutrient Lifestyle Facebook group again. And we'll also have the texting group going too for accountability and things like that. Okay. So, and then right after that, of course, we're opening the family again for a week. So you guys can get back into the family and get some coaching like this personally inside the family. I coach 3 times a month in there. Okay. Okay. No, it's going to be different, Rochelle. I'm doing it. So Rochelle asks, is it 2 sets of food for the 7 days? No, I'm just doing it differently this time. It's going to be a brand new kind of way of doing things. It's going to be similar to the set kind of idea, but not. You'll see. I'm going to mix things up a little bit more and just try sort of the way that I meal plan now. I mean, you know, my old challenge was the way I used to meal plan then. And now this is how I meal plan now. So I'm going to try that. Okay. So Lori says, so the pizza I wanted, I made a tiny salad and a mineral water while I listened to you instead. So satisfied. Thank you, my dear. You're so welcome. Keep having the mineral water. Remember, you might get hungrier quicker and you might want the pizza again, right? So plan for that. Who's designing the challenge? I am. I'm doing everything again. Excited to see it. Yay. And Helen says, finding other sources of comfort or pleasure. I like that. That would possibly end up bringing the comfort and prayer of being at a healthy weight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's another thing too, to like learn to be okay with maintenance rather than weight loss. Ironically, when you get to be okay with maintenance and you're fully okay with it and you're calm and it's all about self-care, what you eat, it's not about the weight, it's about self-care and self-love, the weight will tend to go down by itself because now you're caring for yourself, and caring doesn't feel like binging, right? Okay, that's it. So yeah, I'll be, look out for your emails, guys. I'll be putting out the stuff about the challenge soon. It's going to go, anyone who's watching that's not in the family, it's going to go on sale on the 13th, which is Monday, I think. It's coming Monday. So, okay. Okay, that's all that I have for you. Thank you so much for being with me, you guys. I'm really going to try to keep this to 30 minutes going forward, but you know how that goes. I hope you have a great day, great Wednesday, great rest of your week. You're welcome. Love you. See you. Bye.